Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, Tuesday to those of you in Australia. We have more than 600 people who have registered for this event from 4 different continents that I know of for sure. We could even have a 5th continent. My name is Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. This is the master class that I have as part of the Sales Hunter University program. What you're going to experience here, I'm going to walk you through how to handle objections. Objection handling. I'm going to walk you through a whole series of pieces. We've got slides that I'll be showing. You've got the workbook. I trust you've had a chance to download that. And more importantly, my objective over the next 90 minutes is to provide you with solutions that you can run with. Now, a lot of the topics or the content comes from 3 of my books: High Profit Selling, High Profit Prospecting, and most recent book, A Mind for Sales. Now, what is this all about? What is the masterclass concept? Just bear with me for just a moment, because I want to tell you about something, because I want you to be taking advantage of it. What is this all about? Well, it's really the Sales Hunter University, and the masterclass is one of 4 elements that, if you're a member, and we have members who are watching right now who are part of it, and they're going to say, yeah, I get it. This is outstanding. What you get is you get the video library. We have videos put together, video content around each of the 3 books. Live coaching. What this means is there's 2 times a month. In fact, I have one coming up later on this week and one the following week, where it's group coaching, where I go really with the audience. And it's a tremendous amount of give and take. I do 2 of those every month. We also do the Monday message, which is a 2-minute real-time video that I send to you every Monday morning. What's special about real-time is because it's what's happening right now. And if you think about it from an economic standpoint, from a societal, from a political, from a health standpoint, there's so much. How do we respond in sales? That's what I address in that. And the final piece that I have in there is the monthly masterclass that you get to participate in every month. And that's what you're participating in right now, overcoming objections. So, hey, I do encourage you. $79 is the monthly subscription. There's no long-term contracts. You jump in, jump out whenever you want. But I really encourage you to take advantage of that. And if you sign up today, here, June 22nd, I got a special package that I'm going to provide for you. Special round of coaching for all the people who sign up just today alone. Okay? Anyway, let's jump into this. And we're talking about overcoming objections. And here's a couple pieces that I want you to keep in mind. You want to have objections. I can't stress this enough, because objections prove that you have dialogue. But I'll kind of get into that here in just a bit. But here's something I really want to share. When we sell with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Now, stop and ask yourself this: is everything you do demonstrating integrity? You see, there's a lot of shortcuts. What I do really appreciate about this whole COVID situation, appreciate COVID. What are you talking about? I do actually appreciate it, because it's really caused the chameleons in sales to fall apart. They can't make it, because transparency, authenticity, and integrity are more important than ever. And what I'm going to share with you today are concepts and ideas that play right into that. It's not manipulation. It's about how do we help people deal with their objections, deal with their issues. That's what this program's all about. Now, as we jump into it, I'm going to share with you really how to unlock the keys. And I really do unlock, because here's the premise that I want you to think about. My whole goal in sales, and if you have the handout in front of you, you're going to see that, hey, you can quote me. These are various quotes that I use. There's a quote that I love to use, and that is, sales is leadership, leadership is sales. If you've been around me for any length of time, you know that I use that a lot. But here's something very interesting. The definition of sales is to help others see and achieve what they did not think was possible. Now, this is a real challenge, because so many times what happens is the customer is objecting to us, and because they don't understand. You see, my whole goal is to help you see and accomplish what you didn't think was possible. Now, let's back that up a little bit. You see, when the customer has the objection, what they're doing is they're saying, hey, I need clarification. Now, that's kind of easy for us to think about. That's kind of easy for us. You've heard that 10,000 times. But here's where so many things break down when it comes to objections. We think all objections are alike. We think because I've heard this objection from this customer, it must be the same response that I can give that I gave to this customer over here. False. False. You see, each objection carries its own weight. Each objection carries its own baggage. And we have to understand one of the challenges that I find with so many sales teams is they believe in salespeople, is that they believe if they just write down their objections and they can write out their normal response, and then they can say, oh, that's it, that's all I need to do, boom, we're done, this is going to work so great, everything is perfect. Wrong. It doesn't happen that way. You see, because how I respond to one person may work for that person, but how I respond to this other person is not. I'm going to walk you through some examples. I'm going to walk you through. You see, my whole objection, or my whole objective with objections, is that I want to treat the objection as part of the conversation. Treat it as part of the conversation. This is a mindset. Too many times what I find is that salespeople treat objections as barriers, as business blockers. No, I want to treat it as a conversation. Because for me, it's the ability to create the conversation. For me, it's the ability to create the conversation. Now, think about this for a moment. If you are not getting objections, A, you're not finding out the maximum opportunities as to where and who you can sell your product or service to. If you're not getting objections, you're clearly pricing it too low. If you're not getting objections, you will never really find out what your competition's doing. You see, objections help provide me the intel. One of the easiest ways that I use objections for is to A, measure price, and B, measure what are alternative applications I might be able to create for my product or my service. This is where, if you think about this, you have a tremendous ability. Because yes, you've got your ICP. We'll talk about that. You got your ICP. But what are some other ICPs, ideal customer profiles, that you could be jumping out to? Turn the page if you're following along with me, and let's go to section 1 here. Section 1, objections. You've got to understand the context. You've got to understand the perspective. Let me walk you through these, and then I want to come back and I want to share with you a story that's going to kind of frame this up. So I'm going to walk through these 6 very quickly, and then I'm going to come back and share a story. Is there a level of trust or confidence with the person? 2, is there prior experience that is shaping the opinion? 3, what is the size of the prize? 4, is there another issue in play? 5, is this a play to get something better? And the last one, where's the customer in the buying process? This is absolutely essential, because without it, you're not going to know how to respond. Let me share with you a story as to how this plays out. And as I share with you the story, then I'll come back and I'll share with you exactly where it fits in where. I had a company I was really looking forward to have a chance to work with. They were going to invite me in to help with their sales team. And in some of the pre-research, and the conversations that we had with some of the mid-level people in the company, we found that they had a major competitor that was coming into the marketplace, a major significant competitor that was going to come into their geographical territory and take a significant piece of their business. And this was the big reason they felt I was going to be the one that's going to help them through this challenge. So we knew what their obstacle was. We knew what their problem was. And the whole piece was I was going to come in, speak at their national sales meeting to their entire sales team, and then provide them with resources going on after that. It's all great. It's all great. If deal looks like it feels like it's going to come together, I find myself on a plane traveling down to Sao Paulo, Brazil. I fly down to Brazil, which means you take the red eye. I literally give a speech get on a plane and fly right back. It was a trip sandwiched in between a number of other things. Needless to say, after 2 consecutive nights of red eyes, speaking, getting off the plane, coming home, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. I get on the phone, I call my salesperson, and she says, Mark, you know that company? I go, yeah, I know that company, yeah. Well, the COO president wants to talk to you. He's concerned. I said, what's he concerned about? She said, I don't know, but I have a feeling it's about price. Objection, right? Objection. And she says, hey, he's going to call you in about 30 minutes. Now, needless to say, I was not really looking forward to this call. I was tired. I was exhausted. I really just wanted to go home and take a long shower and take a nap. But I knew I had to deal with this. But here's what enabled me to do it. I was armed with some of the facts. I was armed with some of the issues that they were dealing with. Top of the hour rolls around. The COO president calls me and he says, Mark, like what you have to offer, but your price is way too high. How much will you cut it? My immediate response to him was, I won't cut the price. I'll change the value of the outcome you're going to get. And oh, by the way, how much business do you expect to lose next year because of this new competitor? That's exactly what I said. There's a pause on the phone. And about that time, you begin thinking, uh-oh, you just blew it, right? I mean, let's not kid ourselves. I thought, oh, wow. He responded after about a 4-second pause. It seemed like an hour. And he said, that was good. You're hired. I go, wow, that was great. He said, that was good. He said, that is our problem. That is our problem. And we went on for about 15 minutes having a great conversation about his perspective. I had never talked to him before. We had never been able to get an audience with him. We've been talking to mid-level people in the company, the VP of sales and others, but not to the COO president. Had a great conversation with him, got his perspective. And as we were about ready to end the call, I said, hey, help me understand something. Were you expecting me to reduce the price? He chuckled, he laughed. He said, well, yes, I was. In fact, and this is where it gets really interesting. He said, you weren't our first choice. Oh, that's great. That really makes me feel really good. You're not the first choice. And what was interesting was he said, you're not first choice. And I called our first choice and I asked him that exact same question. And before I got him off the phone, he had cut his price in half. And then I realized, is that the type of person I want helping me with my issue? No. You see, he knew that his sales force was probably going to cave on price and going to wind up giving massive discounts to keep the business. You see, here's the whole thing. You see, the objection I heard was price, but that wasn't the objection. That wasn't the objection. He was trying to validate as to whether or not I was the right person. You see, many times what happens when you hear an objection, it's not what you hear. It's not even what they're saying. You see, what this COO president was doing was trying to validate his decision by asking me an objection. So now with that in perspective, let's go through this part one here. Let's look at these. Is there a level of trust and confidence? You see, now think about this for a moment. The greater the level of trust and confidence between both parties, the higher the degree of truth there will be in the objections. Okay, now we had never talked to this COO president before, had never talked to him before. Right, I get it. But we had talked to other people, and we had developed a high degree of trust and confidence. You see, what's very interesting is, for the other person. This is absolutely key. I knew what the size of the prize was for the other person. You see, this third piece here, what is the size of the prize, is absolutely without a doubt the most critical piece you have to be asking yourself. Let's go to the next one. Is there another issue in play? Now, see, for this story that I was telling you of this company, there was no other issue in play. But many times what happens when they throw out an objection, there is another issue in play, and I've got to be able to probe down deeper. What am I getting to with all these? You can't take an objection at the surface and just run with an answer. Too many times what happens is people hear an objection and they play customer service. They play customer service. They immediately respond with the answer. That's customer service. Giving the customer what you think they want to hear. But that's not helping them. Sales is about helping others see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. That's what our objective is. You see, so what I have to ask myself is there another issue? Because many times there is another issue in play. Now, you could argue a little bit here that the other issue in play was I wasn't his first choice. So maybe he was prepared that if I caved, and they'd have to go back to square one. So maybe there was. I'm not sure. Fifth point. Is this a play to get something better? You see, that could have been my perception. That could have been my perception. Wow, he just wants to get more stuff. He wants to get more. He wants to get access to my online program for all of his salespeople. He wants to get this. He wants to get this. He wants to get something. And no. You see, I have to be prepared to know what the value is. It would have been very easy for me to sit there and say, oh, well, I can throw in this, I can throw in that. But do you know what the critical need is that they're looking for? Sixth point here. Where is the customer in the buying process? Now, we've got a section coming up here, section 3, that we're going to talk about this in depth. But see, again, think about this in the context. They had already done all their research. The dates had already been set up for the meeting. Everything had been laid out to me. I was already being vetted and set up in purchasing, by their purchasing department as a vendor. You see, he was right at the end. He was right at the end. Now, many times salespeople would say, oh, well, that's the time I got to give the biggest discount. No, it's not the time you give the biggest discount. Because I knew what the critical need was. My fee, my price tag was chump change compared to the amount of business that they were going to lose as a company. Chump change. Now, stop and ask yourself this question. If you were to go back and ask yourself, did I really understand where the objection was coming from that I heard from that customer yesterday, or maybe even this morning? No, I bet you didn't. Because you've got to ask yourself these questions. This changes dramatically how you would respond to an objection. Not all objections have the same color. Not all objections have the same value. You've got to understand this. You see, what I want you to do, the reason I gave you the workbook and what this masterclass is all about is for you to now go through here when you get time and to be asking yourself, is there a level of trust? Okay, so evaluate that. Is there a level? How do I create trust? How do I create trust? We'll talk about that. How do I understand if there's a prior experience? You see, these are all questions that you have to get to. These are all questions. This is why I sit here and say, we run the risk of losing too many sales and discounting our price too much because we race to get to the close. We race to get to the close. We race to get to the demo. And the demo winds up being a stupid waste of time because it's all one-sided. All we're doing is telling the customer. Ask yourself on these 6, where do you come in at? And what I'll tell you this, top performing salespeople, the top 1%, are able to understand exactly. Now, let's go to part 2. Let's go to part 2 in the material here. And responding to an objection. Okay, now I'm going to walk you through this, and I was kind of struggling with, gee, do I put this part here in the masterclass or do I put it at the end? And I chose to put it here for a very simple reason, because I want you to understand kind of the context, okay? I want you to understand the context of how you respond to an objection. And then in part 3, as you know, we break it down further in terms of where's the customer at? Because again, where the customer's at is going to depend. And then in part 4, I share with you the 13 rules. Okay, so let's walk through these. Let's walk through this. Seek clarity by repeating as you heard it. Okay, this is so key. This is so key. This is your ability to frame the objection up as you want it. Do not sit there. And this is where, again, customer service, I hate. Customer service will tell you, well, if the customer shares with you an objection, you repeat back to them exactly as they told it to you. No, that's a parakeet. That's what a parakeet does. That's not what you do. You're a professional salesperson. You seek clarity by repeating as you heard it. Now, what does this mean? You interpret it to begin putting your spin on it. I love this approach. Because many times what happens is the customer doesn't know how to articulate their objection. They don't know how to articulate because they really haven't thought through the issues that they're dealing with. They just have not thought through enough. They haven't. So they don't know. And so what I want to do is I want to sit there and repeat it as I heard, and I'm going to put my spin on it. And then when I'm not going to hesitate doing is, did I sum that up right? You see how he asked it? Did I sum that up right? Is this what you're asking? And see, what I'm doing here is I'm just getting you to validate what it is that I just said. I love this approach. I'm just getting you to validate what I just said. And now what it is I've now got you coming over to my field. You see, I've now got you. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit there and I'm going to ask you a question to gain more insight. And I'm going to ask you a question based off the knowledge I know, either about you as the customer or about your industry or how it's going to be used. But I'm going to ask you a question. Now remember, go back to the example I shared with you of the COO president I was talking to. You see, he threw out an objection. And what I did was I said, so how much business do you expect to lose from the new competitor coming into your marketplace? You see, what was I doing? I was asking a question to gain more. Now, I knew what the answer is, at least from what I was hearing. I did want to hear what he was having to say. But what does this do? This begins to get the customer thinking about whether or not what they have is a real objection. This piece, asking a question to gain more insight, is the most critical part in handling objections. And it's a part that most salespeople overlook. Let's go to that third step. Line the objection up with value. You see, what I want to do is I want to line that objection. So you have this objection, but wait a minute, this is a critical issue that you have. Hold it. You see, again, this is where the further along you are in the selling process with the customer, the more knowledge you have, the better you're going to be able to do in terms of lining it up with value. See, this is why I was able to, in this example I shared with you, I was able to line it up because I knew exactly what their pain was. So what happens if you don't know what the pain is? You ask them a question. You see, don't think for a moment that speed in answering an objection is part of the process. No, it's not. Speed is not part of the process in answering an objection. Getting it right is. And again, this is the difference between customer service and selling. The next piece here. Frame the value of the answer. So in other words, when I was prepared with this gentleman who I was talking to on the phone, I was prepared to come back to him and sit there and say, well, you know, the total cost of what we're doing for you is going to pay for itself within about 2 weeks because of what we know is going to be happening. You see, what I was able to do was I was going to be able to frame the value of the answer. See, the answer he was looking for was remember, he wanted me to discount my price. Tie the solution back. Tie it back to the problem they have. Tie it back to the problem. Remember, customers don't buy anything. I don't care if it's B2B. I don't care if it's B2C. I don't care if it's anything. Customers don't buy it. They invest. And they want a return on investment. They want an ROI. They want an ROI. And as I'm asking them, I'm getting them to realize what the ROI is, which then takes me down to that. State the response and ask a validating question. Now, the validating question might be to close the sale if I'm far enough along in the process to close the sale. Only if I'm far enough along. There are some schools of thought out there that says when you immediately answer an objection, you should close the sale. I go false. It depends on what you're selling. If what you're selling is a transactional item, I get it. But if what you're selling is a complex sale with a longer process, no, you don't. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a validating question to say, hey, now how does that fit into the bigger context of what you're looking for? How does this help you move forward? I just walked you through how we can handle this, and where do you see this playing out with your team? Who are some of the other people we should be talking to? You see, what I'm doing here is I'm using this to be getting more conversation going. I'm using this to be getting more conversation. Now, I used to call this 5-step process the box technique. In other words, the idea being is that there's 4 sides on a box. So, the first side is I seek the clarity by repeating. 2, next side, I ask the question. 3, I line the objection up with value. 4, I frame the value. And 5 is the top of the box, and I put it away. But see, I don't think we necessarily always put it away. Because here's the whole thing. I may answer the objection for you. Okay? Answer the objection. But the objection is still lingering in the customer's mind. So I've still got to keep it handy. I've still got to keep it available. It still may come into play. And I'm not going to hesitate. And one of the techniques that I'm going to do is when it does come time to close the sale, I'm going to come back, and if there's hey, remember on the second call we had that you were talking about this, and what you do is you actually recap for them the response and their response. You know what I found? That is a beautiful approach to help close the complex sale. Because now what I'm doing is I'm coming back to earlier issues that you had, especially if what you're dealing with is with an RFP. Okay, we'll say that you have an RFP and you've responded to the RFP, and then they've thrown questions back to you, basically objections that they want clarification on. Okay, so you respond back to them, and then what happens is you then get a seat at the table. You're trying to negotiate, but see, I keep coming back, and it's amazing how that approach works. So that's why today, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I treated this as the box technique, and I said, I put it away. I don't always put it away. I want to bring it back out, and I'm going to leverage it to my advantage to help you see and achieve what you didn't think was possible. Are you getting some ideas here? I hope you are, because here's what I want you to do. Again, go back and think about objections that you've had. Think about objections that you've had. And as you go back and think about objections that you had, I want you to think about this. How did you respond to them? Chances are you responded to them too fast. Chances are you responded to them too, and we're going to cover that part in terms of speed in step 3 here. But more importantly, you probably didn't link it up to value. Or if you don't have value that you can link to, because this is coming too early in the presentation, too early in really your relationship, and you barely have established trust and confidence, you're now using it to see if there is value there for them. So how does knowing this fit into the overall solution of what you're looking for? I don't hesitate to ask questions this. Now here's why I love asking questions of that type. Remember in step 1 where I said trust and confidence? You see, one of the ways we create trust and confidence is by asking the customer questions that I don't have any clue where they might go. I have no clue where they might go. But see, what's very interesting is this. When you're willing to demonstrate that to a customer picks up on it. Customer, believe me, the customer picks up on it because they're not used to that. So what does the customer feel? Now, the customer can say, oh, wow, this guy's a sucker. I'm going to take advantage of him or her. But no, it really doesn't. Go back to my first slide, integrity. Remember? Sell with integrity, you'll get customers who have integrity. See, so I love asking these little perplexing questions. Because what it's going to do, it's going to get you thinking, it's going to get me thinking. In fact, the ultimate measure of trust and confidence is when I can ask you, the customer, the prospect, a question that I know you don't have the answer to, and I don't have the answer to. Think about that for a moment. Generally, what happens is majority of salespeople will love to ask customers questions that they know the customer can't answer, but they can answer because it's the way they look so smart. It's the way they look so brilliant. Stupid. Don't ask your customer stupid questions. You're offending them. Remember integrity? Don't offend your customers. What I do love asking is I love asking them questions that they don't have the answer to. And I don't have the answer to. Because it's going to get both of us conversing. Remember how I said objections are about a conversation? I'm not afraid of objections. I'm not afraid. But every objection I have, I'm going to put them through this 5-step process. And it's very, very easy to put them through. Now, let's go to step 3 here. Step 3 here. Timing and when to respond. This is so key because the context of when the objection is answered is going to change dramatically as to how you respond. If the customer is early on in their process, this may be the first call, this may be the second call, but clearly you're still in this dating phase. You don't know where this relationship's going to go. You see, what I want to do in prospecting early stage is I do want to respond quickly. I'm going to respond quickly and build on it with more questions. You'd never respond to an objection without asking more questions. Again, this is a big mistake. What I hear happening so many times, especially with newer salespeople or average salespeople, is they get an objection and they answer it and then they go right back to their presentation. I see this in demos all the time. I see this in product demos. We've got this person that's giving this demo, and the customer raises a question, and then what happens is, well, I'm going to answer it, and then they just race back to the demo. That is a drive-by shooting. You missed a big opportunity. And I don't mean to be, that was kind of harsh what I just said. No, you just wasted a beautiful opportunity. When they have an objection, quickly, I want to build on it with more questions because I want to understand. You see, how am I going to understand what their need is unless I get them to engage? I can't understand what their need is until I get them talking. And I can't understand what their need is until I get them talking about what's important to them. And I can't do that till I build off of them and give them respect and honor for the objections they do have. So early on, I like it. 2, leverage the objection to create confidence and demonstrate competence. You see, this is what's so key. You may be talking to somebody, and this is a prospect, maybe the first call, and they throw out an objection to you, and that's fine. It's great. Hey, you know what? Here's some ideas, and you kind of get a conversation going. But you know what? I got some more information I'm going to share with you. I'm going to go ahead and email it to you. In fact, let's go ahead and set up time for another call right now. You see, I'm going to take that objection and turn it into my call to action. I love doing this. And again, what happens is too many salespeople, they stay in this script of exactly how they're supposed to do. And what I want to do is I want to take an early objection. I'm going to answer it, get some more questions going, but I'm going to create that as my CTA, my call to action, to get the next step. Because here's what's interesting. So many times what happens in prospecting phase, we are prospecting, and then we have one conversation, but then the customer disengages with us. They disconnect because we didn't value who they were. You see, this is where I love taking this approach. And I'm going to play it back. And I'm going to create that. And you will immediately, when you use this approach, you will immediately find yourself having fewer customers disengaging with you. It really is it's kind of spooky how powerful it works. Use the response to take control. You see, this is what's so beautiful. I'm going to use the response to take control for one very simple reason. Excuse me. Because now I know where you want to go. You see, when I call a prospect, and I don't care how closely they fit to my ICP, my ideal customer profile. If you want insights on that, go to my books, High Profit Prospecting or A Mind for Sales. I'm going to take that ICP, let me line up. But I still don't know what's going on inside their mind. I think I know what's going on inside their mind. But see, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to run with that objection. And I'm going to use it to take control. The sooner I hear an objection from you, the better off I am. Now, there's 2 exceptions to this rule. From a prospecting standpoint, and I didn't even put this in because they're so stupid, but we hear them all the time. Oh, I'm not interested. Just send me some information, right? How many times do you hear that? Not interested, just send. Or you know what? Why don't you call me in 6 months? Because I'm leaving the company in 4 months. No, big mistake. You see, those are not objections. Those are blow-offs. We're talking about objections. So let's run down this path for just a second. Somebody says, well, why don't you just send me some information? How do you respond to that? Here's how you respond. We have a number of solutions. I'm not sure which one's going to be right for you. Let me ask you 3 questions. If they are not willing to sit through 3 questions, don't even waste your time with them. Do not even waste your time. New salespeople sit there and say, oh, I got a lead, I got a prospect, they're going to move them to garbage. You respond by saying, hey, we got a lot of solutions. We got a lot of ideas. I need a little more help. Can you answer 3 questions for me? If they are not willing to answer 3 questions for you, sure, you can send them some information, but the probability of anything coming of it is 0. You never send information out as part of the objection handling process in that manner. I will send information out after I've answered your questions and I've got you, and I'm going to send you some more information, and I'm going to sit there and say, hey, I'm going to send you some information. Would you do me a favor? Take a look at it and email me back your thoughts, would you? And I'm going to use that as part of my CTA. I'm going to use that as part of my, but the objection is, hey, just give me a price. Or they say, your price is too high, you need to take a price discount. Again, big mistake. Just because somebody says your price is too high does not mean, see, right now, in this period of time that we're in, this COVID period, this economic period that we're in, asking for a price discount is kind of the cool thing. It's like, you better ask for one. I go, no. Remember the response I gave to that CEO president? I was not going to allow him to have a discount. I'll change the value. Sure, I'll change the value. You see, price, and I'm going to do a separate masterclass on this. We're going to do a separate masterclass on just price, because this is a real critical issue. Because here's what I find happening. Salespeople will get this call, and the objection is, if you reduce your price, I can go ahead and place the order because somebody else has got that matching price. So then you run into your boss and you sit there and say, oh, boss, I need a lower price. And if we lower the price, I can get the deal. And if your boss is weak, your boss says, oh, okay, lower the price, we'll get the deal. Well, let me tell you something. When you lower the price, the only thing you're giving up is profit, 100%, because the product or the service remains the same. The product or the service remains the same. All you have done is given up profit. I had a sales manager tell me one time, he says the way he responds to that is, fine, I'll let you have a lower price. Can I take 50% out of your paycheck? He never had a salesperson ask him that again. Yeah, because it's easy to give away somebody else's money. It's pretty hard to give away your own money. You see, so what I do is when I do get that question asked me, hey, price, how do I respond? I come back to what is the value, what is the outcome that they're looking for? Okay, now back up. Remember the story I shared with you at the beginning. See, we knew what the value was. We knew what the problem was that they were having. Now, early on, see, I'm talking right here is, in terms of early stage, I don't know. But I'm not going to allow price to come into the conversation. You never allow price to enter into the conversation until you've been able to verify what is the value, what is the outcome, and what is the time need that they have to make a decision. I'm never going to put a price out otherwise. No, you're stupid. You're stupid if you do. All you're doing is playing customer service. You're giving into the customer. The only exception to that is if they were a good customer, really good, strong customer, and they're asking for a price on a particular SKU or something like that. That's the only exception. But we're talking about selling. We're talking about selling to new customers here. So the objection of price, I'm going to ignore. And the objection of price, I'm going to come back and I'm going to say, hey, I'm not even sure if what we have is the right solution for you. And I wouldn't want to see you spending money on stuff that isn't right. Help me understand a little better. I've been able to help many other companies in your industry, been able to help many other customers just like you. Give them some confidence, but don't play the price. You see, the customer who comes to you quick on price will leave you just as fast on price. Because what you're going to do is you're going to attract customers who are not buying because of value. They're only buying because of low price. And when they only buy because of low price, guess what? As soon as somebody else comes along, and oh, by the way, there will be somebody somewhere who will come along and make it a little bit better, a little bit faster, a little bit cheaper, and boom, you're gone. The quick price quote, the way you answer the quick price quote is no. You don't answer it. You do not answer it. You answer it with a question. I don't even know if it's the right thing for you. I'm not sure. Help me understand a little bit more about your business, because I don't want to see you wasting money, even with a commodity item. This is the exact same approach I even share with a commodity item. And you know what's interesting? You take a buyer who normally buys a lot of commodities and you throw that out to them and they go, what? What did you just say? Yeah. Because here's the whole thing. If the customer is calling you Now think about this for a moment. The customer is buying commodities and they're calling you, asking you for a price. Don't you think they could probably find that price on the internet? Yeah, they could. They could. And if it's a commodity, probably everybody else is the same price. Why are they calling you? They're calling to enter into a conversation with you. They're calling to enter into a conversation about some bigger opportunities. That's why they're calling you. See, so again, don't sit there and roll over and play dead. Okay, let's get to the second half of this, okay? So buying late stage. Okay, so now the objection comes up in the buying phase or the late stage. Now, what do I mean by this? Okay, early stage is when you're prospecting, okay? You are prospecting with them and you think they're the right customer, you're not quite sure, you're still really dancing through everything. The late stage is when you've got everything qualified. There's this level of trust. There's this level of confidence you feel. You feel this is going to come together. So this is the buying late stage. What's interesting is objections change based on the level of trust and confidence. What I'll argue is this. The less trust and confidence there is between you and the customer, the greater the probability there will be for problems to arise at the end of the sale. And the greater the probability you will be negotiating over price. And we've got a masterclass plan just on negotiating price. That is a huge issue. You see, buying in the late stage, I want to wrap the objection around the critical need the customer has. Go back to the story I shared with you at the beginning. What did I do? I took the objection, hey, can you lower your price? And I wrapped it around the critical need the customer has. Bingo. That simple response I made me a boatload of money. It made me a boatload of money. And it will make you a boatload of money. Because here's the whole thing. If you sit there and cave to them on one customer, you will suddenly wind up caving on every other customer you talk to. And oh, by the way, don't think for a moment, well, I'll just give them a lower price this time, and the next time we'll get them to buy. No, it won't happen because guess what? Because you gave them a lower price once, that's what they're going to want every time from there on out. Yes. Leverage time. Every sale has three elements to it. Every sale has three elements. It has emotion. Yes, it does have emotion. It has dollars and cents, and it has time. That's it. That's the three elements of any sale. And you can argue otherwise. You can argue all kinds of other things, but you know what? It comes down to the emotion. It comes down to the dollars and cents. It comes down to time. I want to leverage time. So when I hear this objection, late stage, I'm going to sit there and say, hey, how is this going to impact the implementation of what you want to build out? How is this going to work? I was working with a company about a year or two ago. In fact, I write about it in the book, A Mind for Sales. And this company was negotiating a pretty large contract, very large contract. And the customer was balking. And the salesperson was immediately thinking they needed to give. But no. You see, the customer couldn't wait because they needed the implementation of this piece to be able to do the next piece, you see. And if the sales manager hadn't been smart enough to be able to connect the dots together, this salesperson would have wound up giving them a significant discount. But see, what happened was the customer time. They had to have that solution at that point in time. They had to have that solution at that point in time because otherwise it doesn't work. You see, I'm going to leverage time. This comes out in B2B and B2C especially. I have some friends who do a tremendous amount of work in the wedding industry. They may even be watching. Now think about this. The objection that comes up when the wedding is a month out has a completely different ring to it than the objection that comes out 18 months earlier. See what I'm saying? I've got to be able to understand, how do I leverage time? And I'm not going to hesitate to come back and ask you. See, one of the things that we overlook in sales is, how does the customer value time? How does the customer really value time? You see, because this is going to tell you a lot about their price tolerance. Now, I'm sharing with you a few ideas here around price, because really a lot of objections really do deal with price. Think about that. Because the simple piece is this. I can walk into a Walmart store and I can see something for a few dollars and I won't hesitate to buy it. And you know what? If it doesn't work, I'm not too worried about it. I'm not too worried about it. It's only a few bucks. If, however, I was walking into a store paying serious money for something, I'd have a completely different set of questions that I might ask the salesperson. I might go online. I might want to do some research, because that is a significant piece. See? So I can tell the value of your objection based off of the dollar figure and where you are. Now, let me put some context in this. When I'm dealing with a low-level person, I'm going to hear far more objections around price tied to tactical execution. Senior level, it's about strategic and it's about outcome. See, the tactical person has a budget they have to adhere to. The senior level person has outcomes they need to achieve. They'll figure out a way to make that number work. You see, so what does this mean? This means the objections I'm hearing when I say leverage time is also based on who I'm hearing it from. Who am I hearing it from? Is this person further down or further up? Because I may need to leverage time, because time to the low-level manager is different than it is to the CEO. See? Go back to the example I was talking about when I began this particular session. One of the first things that the lower level manager shared with me when we were talking about the package, the deal we were going to put together, was they shared with us what their budget was. Wow. Yeah, they shared with us what their budget was. The solution we put on the table far exceeded their budget. And of course, the CEO president, he signed off on it. It far exceeded what they wanted to pay. See, now again, when I'm on the phone with this person, I could have easily realized, I know we're way over their budget. I need to cut our proposal to make it fit to their numbers. But no, I didn't have to, because I knew what the size of the prize was. Let's go to the third piece here. Be prepared to park the objection. Now, what does park the objection mean? There's two ways that we park the objection. One is we park it by not answering it, and two is we park it by answering it. Let me break this down. This is a late stage. Remember, this is late stage. You ask me an objection, and this is what happens so many times. If I'm dealing with a person that I do not have a high degree of trust and confidence with, I'm going to hesitate to answering that objection right now. Because what you're going to do is you're going to try to treat me like a buffet. Because you're going to try to knock me on this, knock me on this, knock me on this, knock me on this, knock me on this. And what you're going to do is try to ultimately get a better deal from me. And you're going to do this by throwing out different objections. And you're going to throw out different objections, and each one, I don't know if this is going to work. And what are they doing? They're psychologically tearing you down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to park that objection. You say, fine, you know what? We got to put that aside. We got to hold on. No, I need it. No. I understand it, but no. And you literally hold firm. And you park the objection, because what you're going to do is you're going to wait until they get all their objections on the table. Then you're going to see which ones have value and which ones don't. And yeah, we'll do a master class on negotiating. Yeah, we will. We will. Now, park may mean I also answer it, but don't put it away. Remember the box technique I shared with you earlier? Here's the way this really works, okay? So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to answer the objection. I'm going to say, let's hold on to this. And if I'm talking with them on a Zoom call, maybe I'm in person with them, I don't care how it might be you're on the phone, I'm going to make sure to document it. And I'm going to document it in an email back to them. I love parking objections that I've answered by putting it into an email back to them. So I might have 2 or 3 objections. I go through the steps, remember? Okay. Step 2, I come up with the answer, frame it all up, and I'm going to put it into an email and I'm going to send it back to them. I love doing this approach. Late game, late stage. Here's why. It now has you feeling that I, the salesperson, have really done my homework. You feel like you're actually getting me to do stuff for you. You actually feel like you're winning. And I'd rather have you win with that because you're not going to win with price. You are not going to win with price. You're not going to beat me on price. I love doing that approach. So parking, there's 2 ways we go with parking. Let's go to this last piece. Respond with the next step. I'm going to respond with the next step. And I'm going to respond with the next step by sometimes saying I'm not going to answer it. You know, that's a great question. But I'm not even sure if that's worth answering right now. I'll give you an example. You're buying a car, okay? And you have an objection. You want the car to be white. You want the car to be white. The salesperson doesn't have any white cars. So that's fine, but you know what? Let's hold off on that because I got some other things I got to show you. You see, because here's what the deal. The salesperson knows they don't have white. So they say, I don't have white. They don't want you to walk away. Let's come over here because I may be able to show you enough other things over here that suddenly you're going to take that black car that has everything else you want on it. You're going to take that black car and everything else you're going to want on it. This is a classic example. In fact, I shared this example in my first book, High Profit Selling, where this occurred, some objections. And it wasn't until the salesperson actually handled it. Because what happened here was late stage, the customer was creating objections in their own mind. You see, this is the problem. We can create objections in our own mind. Let me give you the example of buying late stage. Okay? And it comes out of my first book, High Profit Selling. My wife and I, we were looking to buy a new car. Well, she wanted a new car. She had been driving a 4-door car for a number of years, and I was doing a lot of traveling, and she thought, you know, it might be good to have an SUV. Kids are getting bigger and so forth. We didn't want a minivan, wanted an SUV. And we live in we live in a harsh climate. And what was very interesting was we go out looking for the car, and there were a couple of criteria that my wife had. My wife had 2 really main criteria. 1, unbelievably heated seats, and 2, an unbelievable sound system. That's what she wanted. That was what she wanted. That was all she wanted. And if you knew my wife, that's all that counts. Unbelievable heated seats, unbelievable sound system. The salesperson was more insistent on SUV and the 4-wheel drive and the clearance and all this can do and all this can do, all this. See, what was interesting was the salesperson was creating objections. The salesperson was trying to get us because what was interesting was early stage, the salesperson wasn't listening. See, so what happened was when it came down to late stage, the salesperson thought, because they didn't understand their value, didn't understand what we were looking for, they thought. And what was very interesting was because of my hesitancy, we got an unbelievable discount. We got an unbelievable discount. The sale could have been closed a whole lot earlier. Now, I've gone down a little bit of a rabbit trail there, but I did that for a very simple reason. I've got to be listening, and it's the way I handle objections. So I want to come back here, and I want to talk just real quick here. Then I want to get into the 13 rules. Step 4, prospecting early stage. Respond quickly and build on it with more questions. You see, what's interesting is in this car example, my wife was saying, hey, I'm not quite sure if that's the right type of sound. Help me understand. You see, she had objections. See? And what is interesting was they responded quickly, but they didn't build on it with more questions. See? If the salesperson had built on it with more questions, would have closed the sale a lot faster. There is no doubt would have closed the sale a lot faster. Yeah. And see, what's interesting is leverage the objection to create confidence. And see, what's very interesting is that all it would have taken was for that salesperson to sit there and demonstrate a little bit of confidence and competence around how they understand music, how they appreciate music and so forth. And man, they would have won. They would have closed the deal. But see, instead what happened was we got down to the buying the late stage and they were totally confused. You see, what's interesting is we're going to screw up the late stage if we don't get the first stage right. More sales are lost, not because of the ineptness of the salesperson in closing the sale. More sales are lost because of the ineptness of the salesperson in being able to do the right job prospecting and qualifying. Let's move on. 13 rules for objections. Let's talk about 13 rules for objections here. And I really want to get into this here. And I want you to, as I go through these 13, what I want you to begin doing is I want you to sit there and say, okay, where do I come up on these? Where do I come up? And what you're going to do is I want you to then circle the 1 or 2 that I need you to really do your homework on. Okay? Number 1, don't panic. I don't care what the objection is. You're playing poker. You are playing poker. Don't panic. Now, you may be totally flustered in your mind, but don't send uncontrolled signals. It is amazing how people will sit there and send uncontrolled signals. And remember, uncontrolled signals is not just with body language. Uncontrolled signals is with your words, is with your language, is with your timing of response, everything else. You have to be very careful to monitor this. So what I do is, whatever objection you throw out, it's okay. If you look at the top performing coaches in the NFL or college, and I mean the top tier, you will see individuals who are incredibly stoic. They could have everything set against them. And I'm going to go ahead and use the Super Bowl from a few years ago when the Patriots were playing the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons were blowing out the New England Patriots in the first half. Now, I'm not a Patriot fan. I was loving it. I wanted anybody to beat the Patriots. But what was interesting was you saw Belichick, the coach, and Brady, the quarterback, remained extremely calm. They did not send signals. They did not panic. They stayed to their plan. You see, if they had been taking this course, they would have been going back through everything previous and just saying, what is it we need to be doing? Just relax. Relax. In my last corporate job, I was director of sales operations for a major Fortune 100 company. And I would have salespeople come into my office and operations people and marketing people and so forth, and just in an absolute panic. And they'd share with me an obstacle of some customer, something of that nature. And I would just sit there and I just remain calm. I'd say a thing. And I'd get some unbelievable responses back. And I go, well, you know what? Nothing we do here today is going to change the course of mankind tomorrow. That was the line I used. Nothing we do here today is going to change the course of mankind tomorrow. The sun will still come up tomorrow. Just relax. We'll figure out a challenge. This morning, I was on the phone at 5 a.m. with a lady that I coach who's in the program in Switzerland. Major issue she's dealing with. And I said, you know what? Hold on. Let me work on that today. This is a puzzle. I love puzzles, and we're going to figure out a solution. My objective is to come back with her with an answer to her obstacle, to her objection. She's getting a major customer objection. I said, just relax. We're going to figure something out. Number 3, understand the timing. You see, understand the timing. This is so key. We race forward too many times. We race forward because we're thinking about it on our schedule, not on their schedule. Understand the timing that the customer has. Number 4, know how to frame it. Know how to frame it. And what do I mean by knowing how to frame it? Knowing how to frame it comes down to very simply this. I got to be able to frame up the conversation in the context of what it comes. Remember step 1, what we talked about? Yeah. Because if I can't frame it, something's wrong. You see, then I'm going to fly off the handle and do something stupid. Number 5, evaluate the source and person. You see, the objection is going to vary on the source and the person. Remember, the lower level person is more tactically oriented, budget constrained, and the senior level person is more strategic and outcome. See, so the objection I hear is going to be totally, so when I was listening to this objection, your price is too high from the COO president of this company, I knew that couldn't be the case. I knew that could not be the case because that person can get as much money as they need. It's not an issue. It's not an issue. To the lower level person, it would be an issue. See? So again, I'm going to know the source and the person. Number 5, validate the objection. Goes back to the steps that we've been talking about. I've got to make sure that I'm validating the objection. And if I'm not validating the objection, there is no way I'm going to be able to get this to work. Are you liking what we're talking about? This is the stuff that we talk about in the masterclass. And I can't now, this is, I need to stop right here before I jump. This is the only masterclass we're making available for free. This is it. This is, don't think that, I'm going to wait and I'm going to come back, get next. No, this is the only masterclass we're making available for free. Because all of these masterclasses are only offered to people who are part of the program, the Sales Hunter University. That's why I'm really encouraging you got to get into this thing now. And I'll share with you that link here in just a bit. But I think you're seeing that, hey, this is gold. When you combine this with the coaching sessions, with the Monday message, with the video library, wow. Yeah, okay. Gain future clarity. Help me understand. You see, what I got to understand is, how does this objection help you tomorrow? Or is it purely an objection regarding historical norms? You see, again, I'm always amazed at people who throw out objections and they're just, that's the objection you always had. That's the objection you've been asking since you were born. It's totally irrelevant to future clarity. Does that mean I can laugh at the objection? No, it doesn't mean I can't laugh at it. But it means I'm not going to treat it with much value, much weight. Number 9, perspective of time. Again, remember this whole piece of I got to understand the perspective of the speed. Hey, here's what I find. Speed sells. Speed sells. And right now, in this COVID period, what I'm telling people, and I've been talking about it in some of the Monday messages, we have to ask ourselves, and we have to realize that customers are making decisions faster than ever. They are making decisions faster than ever. And everything is kind of thrown up in the air because basically everything kind of stopped there for a couple months. Okay? And things are opening back up. So in other words, perspective of time is absolutely critical. So I got to understand that this objection that you have, well, I don't think we're gonna look at this for another 6 months. Garbage. I don't know what 6 months from now is going to be like. I mean, ask anybody. Do you remember what you did February 15th? I can't remember pre-COVID. That seems like a lifetime ago. Man, seems like a lifetime ago. So I got to make sure, what's the perspective of time? Number 10, not all objections need to be dealt with. Yes, I haven't talked about this before, but there are some objections that you simply just ignore. If they're stupid and ludicrous, you just simply ignore them. You do. You don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. I was dealing with a customer one time, years ago. And for some reason, he told me, he said, I'm taking my family down to Disney World, and I'm sure you can get me a week pass for my family to Disney World. I was like, what? There's no way. How did I respond to it? I said, yeah, that'd be nice. I wish I could go too. And I just moved on. I didn't answer it. Ignored it. He was just throwing it out there. Don't allow yourself to get suckered in on stupid objections. 11, objections do not fly solo. No, they don't. They're like flocks of geese. They travel in groups. You see, what's very interesting is many times when the customer asks you an objection, there's probably something else behind it. This is why I go back to step one that we were talking about. Step one we were talking about was in terms of really understanding the clarity and validating all these pieces, and asking questions, because I want to find out, is there other stuff behind it? Because chances are there. And when I mean objections do not fly solo, because many times the objection that you asked isn't really the objection you were looking for, or really not the objection you really had. No. One quick piece there. My wife, when we were looking for that car, wanted a good sound system. But she had objections behind it because we had kids, and kids bang doors, and that means speakers break. And there were some objections that she wanted to know, and are these speakers going to be difficult enough? Are they going to be sturdy enough to hold up? You see, so it wasn't that she just had her objection was good music, but there were some other objections that she had. But see, unless the salesperson had really drilled down deep enough, they never would have known that. And you know what's interesting? If they had drilled down deep enough to really understand, so how old are your kids? What do they do? How do they do it? I mean, how many times have you blown a speaker in a car door because the kid slams the car door? Yeah. And now think about that for a moment. If the salesperson had, you know what? They could have closed that deal a whole lot faster. Number 12, emotion exists in every objection. Oh, Mark, I sell B2B. No, guess what? You know what? There is still emotion. There is emotion in every deal. It is emotion based with facts. Emotion plays into everything. This is why the number 1 and number 2 pieces I had up there was don't panic and don't send stupid signals. Because it's amazing how that demonstrates emotion. And they will run with it. Yes. Number 13. Obvious answers do not always work. I can't even begin to tell you this. You see, what's interesting is many times the obvious answer, this is where too many salespeople in demos make the mistake. What they do is they're in the middle of the demo, or they're in the middle of a presentation, and a customer raises an objection, they answer it, and then they move on. You see, obvious answers, and if I don't take the objection and come back and ask other questions behind it, I'm doing myself and the customer a disservice. This is why I sit here and say, as an organization, if you're a sales manager, if you're a sales leader watching this, I'm going to encourage you, do not allow your customer service people to handle objections. Because all they'll do is answer them. They'll answer them and move on. They'll never get to the real value. Every objection that is answered has the ability to create additional value for you. additional opportunities. Remember, the definition of sales is helping others see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. Yeah. Now, what we've done here is we've gone through the 4 steps here. And I'm really coming back, and I got a little surprise I want to share with you for those of you who sign up for the Sales Hunter University subscription program, because right now it's only $79. You get all this. And I got a little bonus I'm going to share with you, so hang in there for just a moment. But here's the whole thing. I have found there's about 4 solutions that when salespeople master, they move their sales to the next level. Objection handling is one of them. Objection handling is one of them. It really is. The other piece is goal setting and time management. That's what we happened to do last month's masterclass on. So when you join, you get access to that whole video too, that whole workbook, everything. Yeah. And what I'm doing here over the next several months is I'm walking you through these 4 elements. Because when you master these, it is amazing how you'll take your sales to the next level. Because I really contend right now, there are more opportunities from a sales perspective out there today, right now, regardless of the industry. And don't sit there and say, oh, Mark, I sell to the airline industry. Oh, Mark, I sell to tourism. I sell to travel. No, there are still massive opportunities because so many people have every decision up in the air. This is paradise for salespeople. But you can't allow yourself to get hung up. You can't allow yourself to get hung up. Okay, let's talk about a little bit about future, what's coming up in the coming months. So you join, right? You join. Building your prospecting list, ICP. Using the telephone to prospect. Building a prospecting cadence, price objections, closing without a discount, prospecting using email, referrals, and how to get more. Each month we do one of these deep dive. We come back for the members and they get to have an additional Q&A. They get to have additional conversations. This is what makes Sales Hunter University so different from everything else, because you get me in the flesh, real. Yeah, we have a video library. Everybody's got that. But we put so much more into this program. So that's why I want you to do it. I want you to jump out there, go to learn.thesaleshunter.com, subscribe right now. It's all access for $79. You get the library, you get the live coaching, and the live coaching is 2 sessions a month, Monday message, masterclass. Oh, by the way, you sit there and say, Mark, I can't always make it. Mark, I'm in Australia. Hey, we record everything. Everything is recorded. For instance, today, I'm sure most of the members probably were out working right now. But they will digest this evening. They'll digest this over the next couple of days. How do I know? I know because they pop me questions. They share. They share with me. So what is this additional? If you sign up today, I am doing an additional bonus coaching session just for you guys. Just for people who sign up today, June 22nd. You sign up today, because I'm also doing an extra bonus session for those who are already members. Because again, they kind of sat through a little bit of a commercial here. This is the only one that's free. This is the only one. This is it. We don't do this. But I think you probably got. No, I know you did. Think about this for a moment. What would have happened if you could have answered one objection just a little bit better over the last month and closed that deal? Would that have paid for the course? I'm sure it would have. Think about this. In that session, building your prospecting list, ICP, how many times have you wasted time prospecting against people who aren't your prospect? Yeah. Would that help you? You bet it would. You bet it would. You see, this is a program that I firmly believe has ROI. So learn.thesaleshunter.com, $79. What you see on the screen right now, video library, live coaching, 2 of those a month, Monday message, and the masterclass like you're watching right now. And you get the library of masterclasses. That's what's cool. That's what's cool. And of course, like I said, if you sign up right now, June 22nd, I'm going to allow everybody to have an extra coaching session with just me. I'm going to do that later next week. But it's going to be also an opportunity for me to get to know you. Because that's the other thing that people always say. Hey, Mark, I love being in your program because I do really feel like you know me. See, so what have we been talking about here? We've been talking about really selling with integrity. That's what it is. Learn.thesaleshunter.com. Learn.thesaleshunter.com. You need to sign up right now. This is the only masterclass we're doing free. You only get this bonus piece if you sign up right now. We package the whole thing up at $79 a month. There's no contract. If you don't like it, get out. Don't worry about it. $79 a month. You get about 3-4 hours of me live every month. Hey, think about that. Think about that as your personal coach. Plus you get the Monday message, plus you get the video library. You get so much content. It's unbelievable. Hey, do me one other favor. Read the book, A Mind for Sales. It has, I just got a note this morning from somebody yesterday. I got a note from somebody in Brazil with a picture of the book. The book had just arrived in Brazil. This book is changing how people look at sales. Because it's changing how you look at sales. Yeah, high profit prospecting, high profit selling, but I can't stress it enough. And hey, when you buy the book, buy a couple copies for other people, and then leave a review out on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or BAM or wherever you have it. Hey, my name is Mark Hunter. This is an absolute kick to be able to deliver this masterclass because my passion is helping people. My passion is not sales. No, my passion is not sales. My passion is helping people. And when I get to help people, then I feel like I've been able to influence and impact people to be able to make a difference. And when you do that, it's amazing what happens. Sales is not a job. It's not a profession. Sales is a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle of helping people. Learn.thesaleshunter.com. I know a lot of people, I'm already getting notes here. People are signing up like crazy. Get into it. Learn.thesaleshunter.com. Thank you for signing up. Thank you. I can't read the names. The screen is too far away from me, but people are signing up and that's great to hear. Thank you. My name is Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. The website's thesaleshunter.com. Hey, I'll see you in the Sales Hunter University. Thank you very much. Micah, play the video.